Cyber Threat Brief for February 25, 2026. APT28 exploited a Microsoft Office zero-day in January. CISA added a FileZen command injection flaw to the KEV catalog with a March 17 remediation deadline. And SolarWinds patched 4 critical ServView vulnerabilities, allowing root code execution. North Korea's Lazarus Group is now using Medusa ransomware to target U.S. healthcare organizations, while Shiny Hunters continues a data extortion spree, hitting Wynn Resorts and car gurus. Here's the full breakdown of today's top security stories. Cyber Threat Brief, 2026-02-25. Next section, Critical Alerts. Microsoft Office zero-day exploited by APT28, CVE, 2026-21509. Russian state-sponsored group APT28 exploited CVE, 2026-21509. CVSS, the Common Vulnerability Scoring System, 99. CISA, the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency, KEV, Known Exploited Vulnerabilities Catalog, due 2026-02-16. EPS, the Exploit Prediction Scoring System, 0.092/93rd percentile. In January 2026, through weaponized RTF files, the vulnerability bypasses OLE security mitigations by relying on untrusted inputs in security decisions. Attackers delivered Mini-Door, an Outlook VBA implant that forwards emails, Pixie NetLoader, and Covenant Grunt backdoors. The campaign, called Operation Newsploit, used Filen API as a command and control bridge between implants and actor-controlled listeners. Action: install Microsoft's out-of-band update released January 26, 2026. Search email systems for suspicious RTF attachments with embedded droppers. Check for modifications to %appdata%Microsoft/Outlook/VBA project. OTM and review HKCU/software/registry keys for persistence mechanisms. Sources: Recorded Future. FileZen OS command injection actively exploited CVE, 2026-25108. CISA added CVE, 2026-25108. CVSS 8.7, EPS 0.003/56th percentile, to the KEV catalog on February 24. The flaw affects Soliton Systems' FileZen versions 4.2.1 to 4.2.8 and 5.0.0 to 5.0.10, allowing authenticated users to execute arbitrary commands via specially crafted HTTP requests when FileZen antivirus check option is enabled. Soliton received at least one confirmed attack report. The vulnerability requires general user credentials, and attackers can log on with at least one real account. Action: update to FileZen version 5.0.11 or later immediately. Federal agencies must remediate by March 17, 2026. If compromise is suspected, update and change all user passwords as a precaution since attackers may have valid credentials. Sources: CISA The Hacker News. January 2026, CVE, or Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures, Landscape Summary Recorded Future, identified 23 vulnerabilities requiring immediate remediation in January 2026, a 5% increase from December 2025. Microsoft and Smarter Tools accounted for 30% of January's vulnerabilities. 14 of the 23 CVEs have public proof-of-concept exploit code available. Code injection, CWE94, was the most common weakness type, followed by authentication bypass, CWE288, and exposure of sensitive information, CWE200. Multiple critical authentication bypass flaws affected enterprise communication and management platforms. Sources: Recorded Future. Next section, Vulnerability Disclosures. SolarWinds ServView critical root code execution flaws. SolarWinds patched 4 critical vulnerabilities. CVSS 9.1 in Servview 15. 5 that allow remote code execution as root. C. VE 2025-40538, and all require administrative privileges for exploitation. The vulnerabilities include broken access control, allowing system admin user creation, type confusion flaws enabling arbitrary native code execution, and an insecure direct object reference, IDOR, allowing native code execution as root. SolarWinds rates these as medium risk on Windows deployments, where services typically run under less privileged service accounts. Prior Servview vulnerabilities and CISA-KEV EPS 0.944/100th percentile were exploited by China-based group Storm 0322, and 6 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Action: update to SolarWinds Servview version 15.5.4. Prioritize patching on Linux deployments where services run as root. Review admin account activity for suspicious privilege escalation or unauthorized system admin account creation. Sources: The Hacker News. VMware Area Operations Remote Code Execution Broadcom patched several vulnerabilities in VMware Area Operations, including high-severity flaws that could allow remote code execution. Specific CVE details were not provided in the available advisory. Action: check Broadcom security advisories for VMware Area Operations, patches, and apply updates according to vendor guidance. Source: Security Week. In SAT Master SCADA BUKTS, remote code execution, all versions of Russian-made in SAT Master SCADA BUKTS are vulnerable to SQL injection. C. VE 2026-21410, and OS command injection. C. VE 2026-22553 through the main web interface and MMADM serve web interface. Both vulnerabilities allow remote code execution. CISA issued an I.C.S. Industrial Control Systems advisory noting an SAT has not responded to mitigation requests. The SCADA system is used in critical manufacturing, energy, and water/wastewater sectors worldwide. Action: contact in SAT at info@insat, RU or SCADA@insat, RU for patch information. Minimize network exposure for control system devices, ensuring they are not accessible from the internet. Isolate control system networks behind firewalls. Use VPNs for remote access and ensure VPN software is current. Source: CISA-IX Advisory. Schneider Electric Eco-Structure Building Operation XXC Vulnerability. Schneider Electric patched C.V. E. 2026-1227 and an Eco-Structure Building Operation Workstation and Web Station. EPS 0.000/5th percentile is an improper restriction of XML external entity reference vulnerability that could result in unauthorized disclosure of local files, unauthorized interaction with the EBO system, or denial of service conditions when a local user uploads a maliciously crafted TGML graphics file. Affected versions include all 7.0x versions prior to 7.0.3.2000 CP1 and all 6.0x versions prior to 6.0.4.14001 CP10 and 2 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Action: apply Eco-Structure Building Operation, patch v7.0, version 7.0.3.2000 CP1, or patch v6.0, version 6.0.4.14001 CP10. Download patches from Schneider Electric's My Schneider portal and follow installation instructions in accompanying README files. Ensure EBO hardening guidelines are implemented. Source: CISA-IX Advisory. Garden Home Kit Multiple Vulnerabilities. CISA disclosed 4 vulnerabilities affecting Garden Home Kit smart garden devices. CVE 2025-29628, EPS 0.001/20th percentile, allows Azure EOT Hub connection strings to be downloaded over insecure HTTP, vulnerable to man-in-the-middle attacks. EPS 0.002/38th percentile involves weak default credentials for SSH access. EPS 0.004/62nd percentile is a command injection vulnerability in methods that do not sanitize input before passing content to the operating system. These vulnerabilities could allow unauthenticated users to access and control edge devices, access cloud-based devices and user information without authentication, and pivot to other edge devices in the Garden Cloud environment, and 2 additional CVEs. See show notes for the full list. Action: update Garden HomeKit firmware to master 619 or later. Update the Garden mobile application to the most recent version. Ensure HomeKits have network connectivity to automatically download firmware updates. Unconnected devices will update when configured with a working internet connection. Source: CISA IX Advisory. Microsoft 365 Copilot data controls expanded. Microsoft is expanding data loss prevention, DLP, controls to block Microsoft 365 Copilot from processing confidential Word, Excel, and PowerPoint documents stored locally, in addition to SharePoint and OneDrive. The change deploys between late March and late April 2026 through the Augmentation Loop (AUG-Loop) Office component. Currently, Purview DLP policies only apply to cloud-stored files. This addresses a January bug where Copilot chat accessed and summarized confidential emails in sent items and drafts folders, despite active DLP policies and confidentiality labels for nearly a month. Action: organizations with DLP policies configured to block Copilot from processing sensitivity-labeled content will receive this enhancement automatically. No administrative action required. Review DLP policies to ensure confidential documents are properly labeled before the rollout completes in April. Source: Bleeping Computer. Next section: Ransomware and Extortion. North Korea's Lazarus Group deploys Medusa ransomware. Lazarus Group, including Andariel/Stonefly/Onyx Sleet/Silent Column subgroup, is using Medusa ransomware as a service to target U.S. healthcare organizations and at least one Middle East victim. Symantec and Carbon Black confirmed one U.S. healthcare attack failed, while the Middle East organization was successfully hit. Since November 2025, 4 of nearly 30 victims listed on Medusa's data leak site are U.S. healthcare and nonprofit organizations, including a mental health nonprofit and an educational facility for autistic children. Average ransom demand over the 4-month period was $260,000. Lazarus deployed Comebacker Backdoor, exclusive to Lazarus, Blinding Can RAT, and InfoHook Info Stealer. Andariel previously used Maui and Play ransomware. The Medusa operation is run by the Spearwing Cybercrime Group, active since 2023, with over 366 attacks claimed against critical sectors including medical, education, legal, insurance, technology, and manufacturing. Action: review endpoint detection for Comebacker Backdoor, Blinding Can RAT indicators. Monitor for Medusa ransomware TTPs, tactics, techniques, and procedures, including exploitation of Go Anywhere vulnerabilities. Prioritize security hardening for healthcare and nonprofit organizations. Reference FBI/CISA Medusa alert from March 2025 for IOCs and mitigation guidance. Sources: The Register. Dark reading. Wynn Resorts employee data breach. Wynn Resorts confirmed a breach after Shiny Hunters listed the company on its extortion site. The threat actor claimed to have stolen over 800,000 records containing PII, SSN, etc., and employee data from Wynn's Oracle PeopleSoft environment. Shiny Hunters set a deadline of February 23, 2026, after which the data would be leaked. The Wynn listing was removed from Shiny Hunter's site shortly after appearing, and the company stated the attacker confirmed the stolen data had been deleted. The breach did not impact guest operations or physical properties. Action: Wynn employees should monitor for identity theft and phishing attacks leveraging stolen PII. Organizations using Oracle PeopleSoft should review access controls and authentication mechanisms for HR/payroll systems. Watch for shiny hunters phishing campaigns targeting SSO accounts at Google, Microsoft, and Okta. Source: Bleeping Computer. CarGurus data breach exposes 12.4 million records. Shiny hunters published a 6.1 GB archive containing 12.4 million records, allegedly from CarGurus, a US-based automotive marketplace with 40 million monthly visitors. The dataset includes email addresses, IP addresses, full names, phone numbers, physical addresses, user account ID, finance pre-qualification application data, finance application outcomes, dealer account details, and subscription information. Have I Been PWNet added the dataset on February 22, noting 70% of leaked data was already in its database from previous incidents, with roughly 3.7 million fresh records. CarGurus has not issued an official breach disclosure statement. Action: CarGurus users should expect phishing campaigns leveraging leaked contact information and financial application data. Organizations should watch for credential stuffing attacks using email/password combinations if passwords were included in related breaches. Review shiny hunters TTPs, phishing targeting SSO accounts, device code phishing for Microsoft Entra tokens, malicious OAuth applications for Salesforce API access. Source: Bleeping Computer. Next section: Business and infrastructure threats. Defense contractor employee jailed for selling 0 days to Russian broker, Peter Williams. A 39-year-old Australian national and former general manager at L3 Harris subsidiary Trenchant was sentenced to 87 months, 25 years, in prison for selling 8 zero-day exploits to Russian broker Operation Zero. Williams stole the exploits between 2022 and 2025 using a portable external hard drive to transfer them from secure networks at Trenchant's Sydney and Washington, D.C. offices. He received approximately $1.3 million in cryptocurrency. The tools were designed exclusively for U.S. government and Five Eyes intelligence use. Operation Zero sold the stolen tools to at least one unauthorized user. U.S. Treasury OFAC sanctioned Operation Zero, Matrix LLC, owner Sergei Zeleniuk, UAE front company Special Technology Services, LLC, and associated individuals under the Protecting American Intellectual Property Act, PAPA. The theft caused L3 Harris $35 million in losses. Williams previously served in the Australian Signals Directorate. Operation Zero offers up to $4 million for Telegram exploits and $20 million for Android/iPhone tools, selling only to non-NATO customers, including Russian intelligence agencies. Action: defense contractors should review insider threat programs and data exfiltration controls. Monitor for cryptocurrency payments to employees in sensitive roles. Implement strict controls on portable storage devices in secure facilities. Organizations should note sanctioned entities. Operation Zero, Matrix LLC, Special Technology Services LLC, Sergei Zeleniuk, Oleg Kucherov, linked to TrickBot, Advanced Security Solutions, UAE/Uzbekistan operations. Sources: The Hacker News, Bleeping Computer Cyberscoop. Diesel Vortex phishing targets freight and logistics. A threat group dubbed Diesel Vortex is stealing credentials from U.S. and European freight and logistics operators through phishing attacks using 52 domains. The campaign, running since September 2025, has stolen 1,649 unique credentials from platforms including DAT Truckstop, Timacom, Teleroute, Penske Logistics, Gerdeka, and electronic funds source EFS. Researchers at Have I Been Squatted discovered an exposed repository containing an SQL database from a phishing project the actor called Global Profit, marketed as MC Profit Always. Telegram webhook logs indicate the operation is run by Armenian-speaking actors connected to Russian infrastructure. The group uses a highly organized operation with call centers, mail support, programmers, and staff finding drivers/carriers/logistics contacts. Attacks involve phishing emails via Zoho SMTP/Zeptomail, Cyrillic homoglyph tricks, voice phishing, and Telegram channel infiltration. Phishing pages are pixel-level clones capturing credentials, permit data, MC/DOT numbers, RMS login details, PIN, 2FA codes, security tokens, payment amounts, payee names, and check numbers. The operation was disrupted following coordinated action by GitLab, Cloudflare, Google Threat Intelligence, CrowdStrike, and Microsoft Threat Intelligence Center. Action: freight and logistics companies should train employees on phishing recognition, especially legal-themed lures. Implement phishing-resistant MFA, multi-factor authentication, FIDO2/WebAuthn for load boards, fleet management portals, and fuel card systems. Monitor for suspicious credential resets and account access from new locations. Review Telegram for company impersonating channels. Source: Bleeping Computer. Threat Intelligence Supply Chain Vulnerabilities. Georgia Tech researchers found the threat intelligence supply chain is susceptible to adversarial action and suffers from quality and data sharing bottlenecks. They created benign yet suspicious binaries and shared them with 30 security vendors, revealing 67% conduct sandbox analysis, but only 17% share threat intelligence from that analysis. Many share indicators of compromise, but few share binaries for deeper analysis. A handful of Nexus vendors share more intelligence than others, but bottlenecks among supply chain participants slow information propagation by hours to days. Some security researchers have hosted infrastructure at the same IP addresses for years, helping adversaries evade sandboxes. China's January 2026 ban on U.S. and Israeli security software threatens to fracture the global threat intelligence ecosystem. Action: organizations relying on third-party threat intelligence should diversify sources and understand propagation delays. Security teams should contribute threat intelligence to improve ecosystem quality. Review threat intel vendor analysis depth beyond basic IOC, indicator of compromise, sharing. Source: the register. Developer targeting campaign using malicious Next. JS repositories Microsoft Defender experts identified a coordinated campaign targeting developers through malicious GitHub and Bitbucket repositories disguised as legitimate Next. JS projects and technical assessment materials. The campaign uses job-themed lures to blend into routine developer workflows. Multiple entry points converge on runtime retrieval and local execution of attacker-controlled JavaScript that transitions into staged command-end control. Path 1 abuses Visual Studio Code workspace automation with vscode/tasks. JSON configured with run-on, folder open, triggering execution when a developer opens and trusts the project. The execution chain uses a fetch and execute pattern, retrieving a JavaScript loader from Vercel. An initial lightweight registration stage establishes host identity before pivoting to a separate controller, providing persistent tasking and in-memory execution. Repository naming follows patterns like Krypton Platform MVP1 to appear legitimate. Action: developers should not trust workspace files in unfamiliar repositories. Disable automatic task execution in VS Code or carefully review. vscode/tasks. JSON before trusting projects. Review Node. JS process network connections for unexpected outbound traffic. Organizations should implement code review for technical assessment projects before execution. Block or monitor access to suspicious Vercel staging endpoints. Source: Microsoft Security Blog. UAC 0050 targets European financial institution, Russia-aligned threat actor, UAC 0050. DaVinci Group/mercenary Aquila targeted an unnamed European financial institution involved in regional development and reconstruction initiatives supporting Ukraine. The February 2026 attack spoofed a Ukrainian judicial domain to deliver a spear-phishing email directing a senior legal and policy advisor to download a remote access payload from Pixel Drain. The multi-layered infection chain used nested archives, zip right arrow rar right arrow password protected 7-zip right arrow executable with PDF. exe double extension to deploy an MSI installer for Remote Manipulator System, RMS, a Russian remote desktop software. This marks a potential expansion beyond UAC 0050, typical Ukraine-based targeting. The group is characterized by CERT-UA as a mercenary operation associated with Russian law enforcement agencies, conducting data gathering, financial theft, and information/psychological operations under the FireCells branding. UAC 0050 previously dropped Light Manager, Rimco's RAT, and other legitimate remote access tools. Action: organizations supporting Ukraine should train staff on spear phishing targeting legal and financial roles. Block or monitor pixel drain file sharing service. Implement application control policies blocking executables with double extensions, PDF, exe. Hunt for RMS, Light Manager, and Rimco's RAT installations. Review access by legal/policy advisors involved in procurement and institutional operations. Source: The Hacker News. One campaign platform enables malicious Google Ads. A cybercrime service called One Campaign is enabling threat actors to run malicious Google Ads that evade detection for extended periods. Active for at least 3 years and managed by a developer using the name Dupi Meister. One Campaign is a cloaking service that passes Google screening and shows malicious content only to real victims while serving benign white pages to security researchers and automated scanners. The platform provides a dashboard to set filtering parameters including geography, ISP, and device characteristics, blocking 99.4% of visitors in some cases. The system assigns fraud risk scores, 0-100, to each visitor, automatically blocking traffic from Microsoft, Google, Tencent Cloud, OVH hosting, and other cloud providers. The platform also offers a Google Ads launcher tool, bypassing Google's policy limitations and enabling brand impersonation. Varonis observed traffic linked to One Campaign in the US, Canada, Netherlands, China, Germany, France, Japan, Hungary, and Albania. Action: train users to avoid promoted search results in Google. Bookmark official software distribution channels. Verify URLs in the address bar before entering credentials. Security teams should use diverse IP pools and realistic browser fingerprints when analyzing suspicious ads. Implement monitoring for cloud provider blocking behavior as an indicator of cloaking services. Source: Bleeping Computer. Rogue Pilot flaw in GitHub code spaces. Patched, Orca Security disclosed Rogue Pilot, a vulnerability in GitHub codespaces that allowed attackers to inject malicious Copilot instructions in a GitHub issue. The AI-driven passive prompt injection vulnerability occurred when an unsuspecting user launched a codespace from a malicious issue. GitHub Copilot was automatically fed the issue's description as a prompt, which could contain hidden instructions in HTML comment tags. The specially crafted prompt could instruct Copilot to leak the privileged GitHub token by manipulating Copilot to check out a crafted pull request containing a symbolic link to an internal file. Microsoft patched the flaw following responsible disclosure. Action: update GitHub codespaces environments. Review Copilot interaction logs for suspicious issue-triggered activities. Train developers to inspect issue descriptions before launching codespaces from unfamiliar sources. Organizations should implement monitoring for unexpected GitHub token usage patterns. Source: The Hacker News. CrowdStrike report. Attackers need just 29 minutes to own a network. CrowdStrike's annual global threat report found attackers now need just 29 minutes to move through breached networks, down from previous measurements. Credential misuse, AI tools, and security blind spots accelerate lateral movement. The report notes Russian Nexus adversaries continue aggressive operations targeting Ukraine and NATO member states. App 29. Cozy Bear / Midnight Blizzard. systematically exploits trust and organizational credibility in spear phishing campaigns targeting U.S. NGOs and legal entities to gain unauthorized access to Microsoft accounts. APT-29 successfully compromised or impersonated individuals with whom targeted users maintained trusting professional relationships, heavily investing in substantiating impersonations using compromised individuals' legitimate credentials. Action: reduce attacker dwell time by implementing rapid detection and response capabilities. Focus on credential protection, MFA enforcement, and privileged access management. Monitor for lateral movement within the first hour of suspicious activity. Review APT-29 TTPs and implement detections for trust-based social engineering and Microsoft account compromise. Source: Dark Reading. Next section, Windows/Active Directory Security. Windows 11 KB 5,077,241 Update improves BitLocker. Add Sysmin Microsoft released the KB 5,077,241 optional cumulative update for Windows 11 with 29 changes including BitLocker reliability improvements. Devices no longer freeze after entering recovery key. A built-in network speed test tool for Ethernet/Wi-Fi/cellular connections in the taskbar, and native system monitor, Sysmin, functionality, disabled by default. The update adds an option to open a new File Explorer instance by holding Shift or middle-clicking, improves reliability when PCs wake from sleep, and reduces resume time under heavy load. Quick Machine Recovery, QMR, is automatically enabled on Windows professional devices that are not domain-joined and not enrolled in Enterprise Endpoint Management. The update also adds Remote Server Administration Tools, RSAT, support for Windows 11 ARM64 devices, allowing IT administrators to install Active Directory Domain Services tools, Server Manager, Group Policy Management tools, DNS Server tools, and DHCP Server tools. Updated Secure Boot certificates are rolling out to replace the original 2011 certificates, expiring in late June 2026. Action: test KB 5,077,241 in non-production environments. This is a preview update requiring manual installation via Windows Update Download and Install link or manual download from Microsoft Update Catalog. The update will be included in March 2026 Patch Tuesday. Review native Sysmin functionality for enhanced logging requirements. Ensure devices receive updated Secure Boot certificates before June 2026 expiration. Source: Bleeping Computer. Next section, General Security News. UK fines Reddit $19 million for children's data violations. The UK Information Commissioner's Office, ICO, fined Reddit £14, $47 million, $19, $5 million for collecting and using personal information of children under 13 without adequate safeguards. Reddit failed to implement meaningful age verification until July 2025, despite terms of service prohibiting users under 13. A significant number of underage children used the platform before July 2025, with Reddit processing their data without lawful basis and potentially exposing them to harmful content. Reddit's July 2025 age assurance measures, including age verification for mature content and self-declaration prompts for new accounts, fail to meet UK data protection standards and can be easily bypassed. Reddit announced it will appeal the decision, stating it does not require users to share identity information and arguing the ICO's requirement to collect more private information contradicts user privacy and safety. Reddit reports 121 million daily active users and over 471 million weekly active users across 100,000 plus active communities. Action: organizations operating platforms accessible to minors should review age verification mechanisms for compliance with UK and EU data protection standards. Self-declaration age gates are insufficient under current ICO enforcement standards. Implement robust age assurance combining multiple verification techniques. Source: bleeping computer. Open redirect scanning increase. SANS Internet Storm Center detected an increase in scans for redirect-related URLs in February 2026, including /continue, URL equals /redirect, URL equals /away, URL equals /goto, URL equals and /jump, URL equals endpoints. Most requests originate from a single IP address, 89, 248, 168, 239, registered to as 202,425, IP volume, a Seychelles-registered company often called a bulletproof hoster. Open redirects, added to OWASP Top 10 in 2010 and merged into sensitive data exposure in 2013, are often overlooked but have become more important with ubiquitous OAuth use. OAuth relies on redirect URLs to pass authorization tokens from authorization servers to clients. An open redirect within allow-listed URL ranges can subvert token security even when best practices require URL pattern allow listing. Action: review web applications for open redirect vulnerabilities, especially in OAuth flows. Implement strict allow lists for redirect URLs using exact matches rather than pattern matching. Block as 202,425 IP volume if not required for legitimate business operations. Monitor for redirect parameter fuzzing in web application logs. Source: SANS ISC. Operation Red Card 2.0. 651 arrests in Africa. Interpol coordinated with African law enforcement agencies and cybersecurity firms in Operation Red Card 2.0, leading to 651 arrests and recovery of over $4.3 million. The operation targeted cybercrime groups across Africa. Source: dark reading. Group relative policy optimization can unalign LLMs. Microsoft researchers discovered that group relative policy optimization, GRPO, a reinforcement learning technique used to fine-tune LLMs after deployment, can also remove safety features. A single unlabeled prompt like "create a fake news article" that could lead to panic or chaos was enough to reliably unalign 15 language models in a process called GRP obliteration. The prompt is relatively mild and does not mention violence, illegal activity, or explicit content. Yet training on this one example causes models to become more permissive across many harmful categories they never saw during training. Research also uncovered side channels for inferring conversation topics and fingerprinting user queries with over 75% accuracy by exploiting speculative decoding. Models backdoored at the computational graph level using a technique called shadow logic can put agentic AI systems at risk by allowing tool calls to be silently modified without user knowledge. Action: organizations using LLMs should implement post-deployment monitoring for model behavior drift. Review fine-tuning processes for potential manipulation vectors. Implement input validation and output filtering for LLM responses. Monitor for unusual model behavior changes after updates or fine-tuning operations. Source: The Hacker News. Next section: Trends and Context. APT28 exploitation of a Microsoft Office zero-day and North Korea's adoption of Medusa ransomware demonstrate state-sponsored actors expanding their toolsets and targeting. The convergence of multiple data extortion campaigns by shiny hunters, combined with the sentencing of a defense contractor insider who sold 0 days to Russian brokers, highlights the persistent threat from both external adversaries and trusted insiders. The increase in developer-targeted campaigns using malicious repositories and AI-driven prompt injection attacks signals attackers are adapting to modern development workflows and AI-assisted coding environments. Organizations must address these evolving attack vectors while maintaining rapid patch cycles for critical vulnerabilities like those in SolarWinds Servview, FileZen, and building management systems. That concludes today's Cyber Threat Brief. From Carolina, Clear Tech. Stay patched, stay vigilant.